environmental issues and look at what's hot in science and technology and the next wave of emerging diseases and health trends. So this and every Wednesday, join us 8 to 9 p.m. here in BFM 99.9 because your health matters.
People's Pharmacy for all your pharmaceutical, skin and body care needs. Located on Grenville Street in Kingstown. They open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Call them today at 784-456-1170. People's Pharmacy also stock vitamins and supplements, personal care items, toiletries, children and adult pampers, and much, much more. And of course, get your prescriptions filled by a friendly and professional pharmacist. People's Pharmacy. Come in today and let us serve you.
And a very good evening to you. This is Your Health Matters. This is Dr. Gerald Thompson. 8 p.m. every Wednesday night. Put your pot on the fire. Put your kettle or whatever your saucepan with your little water there to make your little bush tea or whatever the case might be. And Your Health Matters. While it's true, Kamal, every now and again, I do miss a program or two. You know, we that's very rare, right? Well, this evening, we are talking about medicinal cannabis. Matter of fact, on October the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of this year, we are having the second Cannabis 2025, Cannabis SVG 2025. And this is a whole packed program. On the 22nd and the 23rd, there's going to be a whole conference series of lectures and discussions, experts from across the regions, advocates, persons who know, persons who also want to learn a little about this are going to be coming into St. Vincent the Grenadines. Local persons, people from all across St. Vincent are going to be coming to this event, which is going to be held at Victoria Park, inside Victoria Park. We're transforming Victoria Park so that it is virtually a conference center. At the same time, there is going to be an expo of the ages. You remember the expo of 2024, which focused a lot on medicinal cannabis products. Well, this year, we are also expanding it. Yes, it's going to be a host of medicinal cannabis products, but on this occasion, it's also going to be food products. I'm talking about real food products that our traditional cultivators have been producing and contributing to this economy, and food stuff of all sorts. It's some of these traditional, they're not just growing cannabis, they are growing food that's been exported, that's been eaten, and high quality products. And we're also going to have a host of other medical themes. We're going to have the health people with the health promotion. We're going to have nurses and so forth checking blood pressure, and checking for sugar and all this other things, and a host of things, extending it to its real health and public health issues. And then on the 4th, well, they're having some special tours to some of the farms. There are special tours to some of the farms across the region and some of the manufacturing plants. And throughout these 3 days, there's also going to be at Victoria Park, the traditional cultivators village, which is going to be an experience that is dedicated to what, how the Rastafari see it, how traditional cultivators view it, and you will see an experience there. But in addition, I was mentioning food. You were there, the ITIL Fest. Well, you're going to see a big component of the ITIL Fest there within Victoria Park. And I must tell you, On Saturday night, October the 4th, there is going to be a major cultural event. It's a grand reggae concert featuring who? Well, I'm sure you've seen it. Beanie Man and Spragga Benz, and Amal and Asher is going to be there as well. So it's going to be a big, big, big event. And then the day after, well, there are going to be some activities for some of our visitors. A catamaran tour down to Beckway. We have to include the Grenadines. We're St. Vincent and Grenadines. So we include, and this event is going to be something very, very special. It's the second of its nature in the Caribbean, and it really makes St. Vincent and Grenadines really stand out. And to talk about some elements here, I have a special guest in the studio. I have Junior Spirit Cottle. I mean, I don't know if I'm saying it wrong, or Spirit Junior Cottle, or however it is. Yes.
I'm really excited.
Yes.
I'm always excited to talk about cannabis.
Thank you very much. And
I've been excited for very many years.
well, we're gonna talk a little bit about you. We had hoped to have had some other persons in the studio from Bingy Faith and so, but they will come at another time. And I'm really happy that you could make it in. You had been a little under the weather recently, and I'm looking at you. You're looking fit, man. You're looking strong.
Must be the cannabis medicine.
well, that's what you say.
Yeah.
Well, tell me something, Spirit. A lot of people know of you, and I'm sure you've been interviewed many times, and so. We know you as being an advocate, both regional, international, and of course at the local level, with many things, including this whole struggle in terms of the decriminalization and legalization of cannabis, and in particular medicinal cannabis. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I wouldn't hazard a guess about of introducing you the wrong way. You tell us a little and your listeners about yourself, and then we get into some questions.
First of all, I want to say a very pleasant good night to all the listeners of VFM. I'm very happy to be here. I've been in cannabis. Now, in fact, I am the oldest active traditional cultivator in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yeah.
And also one of the oldest active one throughout the region.
Yes.
And maybe we can even say globally.
Yeah.
Dr. Thompson, I must thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about medical cannabis tonight. It is an area that I always have been very passionate about, and I want tonight to do that from the perspective of the traditional cultivator. And the sentiments, I'm not just expressing my own sentiments, but the sentiments of a large proportion of traditional cultivators, bearing in mind the best interests of our country and people. Tonight, I'm looking at cannabis or marijuana or weed, whichever you prefer to call it, in a medical context. This is not in opposition to cannabis in its recreational sense, or sacramentally as is practiced by our Rastafari brothers and sisters. But it's in the context that is allowed by the International Treaty of the United Nations on Drugs, in the context which our own law allow, and in the context of its traditional uses medically. And I want to emphasize its traditional uses because there is that misconception that the cannabis that is being produced legally, or which we are encouraging people to do medically, is different than the cannabis that the law allows, or which traditional cultivators produce. Even it is also people are also left with the impression that the cannabis produced by our forefathers and our foremothers had no medical use or value. The fact is, all cannabis are medical. All cannabis have medical properties. And that has been going on since ancient times. By the ancient Egyptians, for example, and by tribal communities in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, in North and South America, as well as in our very Caribbean country. Today, we use the word medical cannabis not in opposition of what is produced by our own traditional cultivators, as some people would like to have us believe, but cannabis with particular standards, cannabis which conforms with the medical and international practices. You cannot produce medicine which people have to consume in the same way you may do so at your home, or the same way we did so in the mountains, because it is for consumption. It has to be done sanitary, otherwise we are going to have people being sick, and this could cause a lot of lawsuits and so on.
Yes. Yes.
Joel.
Yes, I wanna come in here, and I think you've gone into a thing, and you know, we could spend a lot of time with the history of cannabis and go back through the ages, you know, and go back to, as a matter of fact, a lot of people may not realize, at least for my own reading, that in India, cannabis was called herb of the Ganges River. Herb of the Ganges River, or called ganja.
And that's where ganja came from.
Yes. And it was then brought over, you know, it first came to St. Vincent by the Indians as indentured servants in 1861. Now, it would have been in America already, you know, and over in Mexico, the same plant wasn't called ganja, it was called marijuana. Marijuana. And later, as Mexicans migrate into North America, the Englishized version of marijuana became marijuana. Right? You understand, Kalal? And there's the names of it. But I want to fast forward, you know, and not so much dwell on the origins and so, but I want to go back to 2018, 2019, where the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, after a series of things, the CARICOM report and what was happening around the world, and so that could take a whole program. But in 2018, there was a new act in Parliament that created the new Medicinal Cannabis Industry Act that essentially created the framework for medicinal cannabis and legalized medicinal cannabis. And then there was an amendment of the Drug Prevention and Misuse Act in 2019 that essentially rewrote the whole thing on personal possession. And in our laws, it then stated that you can use cannabis in your home, your resident, and in your place of worship, and that you were permitted to have on you 56 grams, up to 56 grams of cannabis. Yes, sir?
2 ounces.
And you just said something there similar to 2 ounces. Do you know a lot of people don't realize that 2 ounces is the same as 56 grams?
Of course it is.
Kamal, you realize that? Wait 1 second. Kamal, you did not know that 2 ounces is the same as 56 grams? Well, I tell you, when I went to school, I always knew 1 ounce is 28 grams. 1 ounce is 28 grams. Therefore, 2 ounces is 56 grams. And the international laws and so forth consider what they call small personal possession as being up to about 2 grams. You understand? Whereas if you had more than that, then they could consider you as being thinking about trafficking, you know? But strangely enough, in St. Vincent, Spirit, you may well, you know, there's also a policy of tolerance that allows that if you had 57 grams and 58 and 59 or 80, maybe even up to a pound, that the police will also tolerate that. They may tell you, please put it away. They may even take it away, but you are not going to be harassed. You're not going to be arrested. You're not going to have anything of that need. They will essentially treat it virtually as if it is almost like 56 grams. And on top of that, Spirit, to make assurances doubly sure, he said, if you are a traditional cultivator, you have a license to cultivate, or you are an employee of a farm and you have an ID on that farm that says you are a worker on a medical and you have an ID to show that, or you are a medical user for whatever medical plan, you have an ID to say, I'm a medical user, Kamal. The police is going to permit you and so forth. St. Vincent is one of the more progressive states in St. Vincent Grace have. Why is that not known? I mean, Kamal was saying he didn't know 2 ounces was 56 grams. I recognize it.
Gerald, I think it was not known because we in school use ounces previously, from in my time, for example,
Yes.
rather than grams.
Yes.
So I only discovered that 2 grams and 2 ounces are the same because of my involvement in
56 grams and 2 ounces are the same.
I say because
Yes.
of my involvement in cannabis.
Yes.
And in cannabis, regionally, internationally, grams is more often used than ounces.
Right. It's the universal measurement. Although we come out of the British system with ounces. But this is a fascinating information. But you said a lot here. You know, you talked about what is medicinal cannabis, and you said all cannabis is medicinal. Yes, that may be the case, but you said that because of certain requirements for quality, requirements for standards, that the way cannabis is cultivated, the way cannabis is stored, the way cannabis is presented has to have the hygienic aspects of it. Why is that also misunderstood to some degree?
Sometimes I wonder, but I tell you something, this misconception must be corrected.
Yes.
Prior to 2018, traditional growers, we go up into the mountains, we go on the steep mountain slopes,
Yeah.
Some go at that far. We're very remote and steep, and we go that distance to avoid the cops.
The police, you've
To avoid,
been
make it
caught.
difficult
Yeah.
for the police. Then, in the process, in the preparation of the lands, we chop the trees down. And the very trees are the forest cover.
Yeah.
We use Gramazone.
Yeah.
The Gramazone goes into the river,
Into the soil of the river, yes.
and St. Vincent is a country of steep mountain slopes and valleys and rivers. And those, the same Gramazone goes into the river, and we drink it.
Oh my.
That's not medical, Gerald.
No.
That's counter-medical.
And not only that, the impact of the chemicals on the rivers, on the fish and all
the
this other
fish.
thing, the wildlife.
And then we grow cannabis. We have dogs.
Oh,
We grow cannabis. We have our animals. We have dogs around. The dogs defecate in the corner. We ourselves, we want to defecate. We go by the side.
yeah.
We have no water to wash our hands.
Oh,
We come and we touch the cannabis.
I got to stop you from talking that because you
It's
are
too graphic.
and you're painting a dismal picture
But-
of what things
but
were
that's how
like
we do it.
before.
That's how we do it. That's
People,
we tell you,
but that's the reality.
That's the reality.
But to an extent, the traditional cultivator has come down from the cold, so to
Totally.
speak. Less deforestation, less of these chemicals going on. They're now in more sanitary conditions. They're closer to their homes. Would you? People have complained. We've seen a whole set of cannabis all about the place. I know in the past, the whole of the Lasufa hillside used to be blanketed with cannabis. Do you think that there is more cannabis being produced today than before, or
No.
there's less?
Less cannabis.
I want to ask you this. I always say that again.
Less cannabis is being produced.
But it's just that people have come down
No.
from
And-
the
and
hillsides, from the
What
mountains.
do we prefer? Do we prefer to stay into the high mountain slopes, chop the forest down, contaminate our water, cause our children to get gastroenteritis and other diseases?
Yeah.
And that contributes to climate change,
Yes. The deforestation and all that stuff.
deforestation.
That's very profound. So that traditional cultivators have come down, is given the perception that there's more cannabis being produced, but there's actually far less.
Yes.
And then on top of that,
But Gerald, I want to make
Yeah,
this
yeah.
point before. We will take, previously we took the cannabis in order to hide them from the law. We put them into buckets,
yeah,
trample them with our feet.
yeah.
Sometimes they come more secret.
To compress them so
them,
they
yeah.
fit into the
So they can
bucket.
fit into the
Yeah,
bucket.
more fit into the bucket, yes.
And then we give people to smoke.
Or you might even bury it that way, right?
Then, of course, we
Bury it and so forth, to hide it,
to hide
and
it.
then dig it up sometime later. Yeah?
And that's not medicinal.
I-
So when we talk about medical cannabis, we talk about cannabis that is produced in a more healthy and cleanly environment.
So are you telling me that today, in this more modern era, compared to 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago, that cannabis is being produced of a higher quality, with higher levels of hygiene, with higher standards than it had been produced before?
Yes, definitely so. So the legalization of medical cannabis
Yes.
has been a significant plus.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, I'm a medical doctor, so I would know, but why would you believe? Why would Rastafari believe that there's medical benefits?
Rastafari knew that all the while.
Yes.
All the years, Rastafari knew about the people, ancient civilization. So many you mentioned it in India, in Asia, in South America.
Mhm.
We know about tribal communities.
But you know, I also grew up listening to Nancy Reagan and others saying that drugs are bad for you. Sadly, cannabis seems to be lumped in with all the other drugs, with cocaine, with fentanyl, with, I mean, I could go down a whole list of drugs and so forth. What we call new psychotropic drugs, chemicals that have been developed in a test tube as drugs. Cannabis is still linked with that in the minds of many persons. You can't separate that. What would you say about that?
You know, there's a saying sometimes that some people propagate it, that cannabis is a gateway to harder drugs.
Yes.
That is far from the truth.
Yeah.
Because of the campaign against cannabis, because cannabis has been painted as a devil drug, and people have used it and recognized that it is not a devil drug, as is alleged to be. And having seen that it is not a devil drug, then that encourages them to use other drugs, which is indeed devil drugs.
Well,
You understand the point?
I'm answering the point, maker, but I want to. What I'm going to say may well shock a few people. One of the leaders in that thinking had been England, Canada, the United States, many other countries. It's fascinating to know that Canada has legalized, and that the main entity that has been pushing that particular theory over the years, the United States, that it's expected that within the next few weeks or months,
Reschedule of drugs.
that the United States is going to reschedule cannabis, and that they essentially, it's going to be classified, cannabis will be classified as if cannabis is virtually like ibuprofen or Tylenol or Panadol. How do you view that whole transition? You know?
I'll tell you something is that the campaign in the world today, the demand by the American population, the successes that has been achieved on the cannabis front, it has now become almost impossible to convince people that cannabis is a dangerous drug, that cannabis has no medical value.
Yes.
In St. Vincent is legal medically. In Jamaica it is legal medically. People from United States who doesn't have access to medical cannabis can come to St. Vincent and get it. And they themselves have experienced the transformation in their lives.
Well,
that it has benefited them medically.
Yes. Well, you know, I'll tell you, everybody, I was in Austria, Vienna, and I made a presentation at the International Drug Forum. And some of the organizers of my presentation said, I have to have Spirit Cottle join me, even though he joined me online, right? I had to have him join me. And so even though my presentation went on for about 40, 50 minutes, Spirit came on for 5 minutes at the end. And I got to tell you, you know, I think most of the impact was from his 5-minute part of the presentation, you know?
Joel, I've been in this business, as I mentioned, over 50 years.
Yes.
I know it.
Yes.
I used to traffic it.
Yes.
In fact, that is what makes me a traditional cultivator.
Yes. Yeah.
I planted it. I still plant it.
Yeah.
But today I'm happy to be part of a legal industry,
Yes.
to plant it in the lower regions of our mountains. You know, the problems of planting cannabis prior to 2018 in the remote hills.
Yeah.
You have to leave your families in the village. You have to spend months in the mountains. Sometimes it causes instability in the family. The family is see you for weeks and weeks because where they planted, there's no road.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, but today it's different.
Yes. Yes. I want to get back to something though, and we're going to take a break just while. But when I come back, I want to say we have given out licenses. We've given out licenses to traditional. Matter of fact, the traditional St. Vincent de Uni, probably country in the world where the license for a traditional cultivator is free. And they have to pay an application fee, but the license is free. They get an ID card. They basically are monitored and so forth, and they get advice. They can even get seedlings and seeds. They get food seedlings on kale and tomatoes and all kinds like that as well to plant.
Gerald,
Yes.
St. Vincent and Grenadines, traditional cultivators, it's not that traditional cultivators doesn't face challenges.
Yeah.
It's not that things are nice with us, but nowhere in the world are the laws more favorable
Yes.
for traditional cultivators than in St. Vincent and the
Yes. Yes. Well, you know, before we take the break, the one person, we clearly may have wanted to be the lead country in terms of exports of high quality medicinal cannabis that is being grown legally, that meets the standard and so forth. And there's a lot of challenges to international trade. We've also been focused on interregional trade with other islands. And a lot of prospects have come up. Opportunities are there. We haven't been able to hammer things home, but I want to hear in terms
And
of
why you think, you see, Gerald, we will have these challenges.
Yeah.
The medical industry, and I'm not talking about medical cannabis, the medical industry globally has been dominated for hundreds of years by just a handful of pharmaceutical
Big pharma, they call it.
Pharmaceutical giants.
Yeah.
Do you think they will just allow small developing countries like St. Vincent, small traditional girls like myself, to make such an inroad on the cannabis front?
Yes.
To compete with them?
Yeah.
It won't be easy. There will be challenges.
Yes. Well, I mean, I can tell you everybody, and it's not since COVID. You know, COVID brought out Kamal, turmeric and ginger, you know, and other methods people use to stay healthy and so forth. I mean, that had been going on before, and I tell you, a lot of respect goes out to the Rastafari and traditional cultivator who's been preaching those things all the time. You know, some people would say I might have just come to that thinking, but I had also been there. But I'm a person who straddles between what I would say modern medicine and that of, you know, plant-based medicine as well. I see the benefit of both.
I must say, Gerald, because I'm personally, I'm not a Rastafari.
Yes.
But I identify with Rastafari.
Yes.
I struggle with Rastafari. I support the Rastafari movement and their struggle for cannabis legalization.
Yes.
I support them. They are my brothers, they are my sisters. But I, in particular, is not a Rastafari philosophically.
Yes, I think that is understood.
And I want that to be understood.
Yes. We're going to take a quick break. And then we come back, we talk a little bit, and we're open for some questions. If any questions come, and we'll take it from there.
People's Pharmacy for all your pharmaceutical, skin and body care needs. Located on Grenville Street in Kingstown. They open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Call them today at 784-456-1170. People's Pharmacy also stock vitamins and supplements, personal care items, toiletries, children and adult pampers, and much, much more. And of course, get your prescriptions filled by a friendly and professional pharmacist. People's Pharmacy. Come in today and let us serve you.
Yes, Spirit, October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Last year, it was November. It was November, a similar time in early November, that we had Cannabis 2024. This year, this seems bigger. As a matter of fact, the theme we have, everybody, on cannabis is more of everything. More medicinal cannabis, more culture, more food, more tours, more entertainment, more of everything, right? And basically, I'm a person, I'm talking about more education, more knowledge, more enlightenment. That's the one I'm more focused on. But I tell you, Kamal, I gotta ask you, a show like this, Beanie Man, Spraggle Beds, how does that sound to you? That's so.
I'll tell you something, up to today,
Yes.
people have called me from Antigua, from Jamaica,
Yes.
and asking me to help to arrange accommodation for them.
Well, I tell you something. At least the conference, I'm a person more focused on the conference, the lectures and so. But even I'm a Beanie Man fan. Yes, I'm sorry to say that. I am. You know what I mean? I am. I mean, Spraggle Beds, I love his stuff too, boy. But I tell you something, I'm going to enjoy that particular show as well. And
it gives traditional cultivators an opportunity to display their product.
Yes.
To show what they're capable of.
I want to make an announcement. Unfortunately, all of the early bird tickets, which was for $60, have been sold out, right? And I've also been told that there are going to be some, on Thursday and Friday, they're going on a road promotion. And they have said that for the show, that all licensed farmers in that corridor of South Leeward going into Central Leeward and North Leeward, they are going to have a free pass into the concert.
Interesting. Interesting. And that should be an incentive to the non-licensed farmers to get involved.
Yeah. They have to be licensed. They have to be licensed.
Get involved.
So, I mean, sorry about that, Kamal. I see you with some dreads and so forth like that. I know you're not a traditional cultivator. I know you're not a Rastafari, but I know the whole list of people who have licenses. I know that. And I know you're not a license. So you are excluded from somebody having a ticket. Spirit, it seems if you'll be inside there because you are a displayer, you're a lecturer and so forth. But your colleagues who are licensed farmers, they will have a free ticket. They're not going to get a ticket as such, and they'll be admitted to the door based on their names and licenses
and the
so
fact
forth.
that they're licensed.
Yes. And but let me hear what you have to say there.
What I have to say, it will be a very, it's an opportunity for traditional cultivators to come out in their numbers. It's an excellent opportunity for traditional cultivators to check the Medical Cannabis Authority, register, get their name involved, We know you grow illicit cannabis. It's an opportunity to do it in a legal framework. You know, legally, you can sell weed. You know something, Gerald?
Yes.
If you know there's some challenges. Jamaica legalized medical cannabis before St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yes.
And the Rastafarians in Jamaica, the traditional cultivators in Jamaica, they're not as free to grow cannabis as we are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
As a matter of fact, I was shocked that they weren't included in it was very stringent. Go ahead, man.
And you know something that's significant?
Yeah.
It's the only country in the world where the laws were passed and traditional cultivators and Rastafarian was part of the process.
I see.
We took part in reviewing the laws. And I tell you something, the Rastafarians were there, Naibindi, and the traditional cultivators were there, including myself.
Yeah.
We were instrumental
Yes.
in ensuring or making sure that certain laws went into effect to the benefit of traditional culture.
And you know, I would say there has been a relatively close relationship between the bigger licensees and the traditional cultivators.
Yes.
I know that traditional cultivators sold product to and still do to the major licensees, and that traditional cultivators are allowed to be able to export and sow themselves. And I know we've worked with your groups, and so you know.
What is interesting also is that the law itself make provision, or if a big company is exporting certain amount of cannabis to a foreign country, part of that exportation has to include cannabis from traditional culture.
Well, remember everybody with 457-9997, straight call or WhatsApp call 457-9997. We entertain your calls. Let me just quickly, I must do this we're going to be coming back on WeFM and all the radio stations to promote this. But remember, tickets, all the early bird tickets have been sold, but basically, their tickets are going to be available at Johnny's, at Milky's, at the Cell, at 360 Sports Bar, the Pulse, Frankie's Barbershop, Video Extreme, Janice Shop, and boy, I tell you, this also going to be available out at the MC at Enham's, Summers. At the cruise ship, but the plantation in Beckway, you know, where the traditional, where the dispensaries and so, and a number of other places, and with that list is going to be expanded. I think things are just about, you know, to take off. This is good. This is going to be a big event. You know, now we are going to have on one of those days, about day one, a traditional cultivators for a panel in which you will be one of these along with other traditional cultivators from across the region. And we're going to hear your perspective. There'll be another panel with regulators, you know, their perspective. The OECS is going to be there. You know, we do also expect CARICOM to be represented there. And then we're going to have a whole series of people. We have two of our local doctors who are into prescribe, Dr. Duncan and Dr. Jamito James, who are going to be on panels talking about their experience with prescribing and so forth, and the medical benefits and things like that. A lot of people don't know, but you know, some people have been stopping me. Do you know who've been stopping me? Come on. Ladies who are like 75, 80. And they're saying that I am able to get this cream and put it on my elbow and my knee. And the cannabinoids, which are absorbed through the skin, are helping to ease the pain of my arthritis. You know? And I tell you something.
I can testify to that.
As a doctor, that puts a smile on my face, because I have been in the past a doctor who would write some prescription. And the patient would say, boy, them tablets upset my stomach, you know, and it made me bleed inside and all that. And I was always feeling bad having to put patients on medication.
John, I'm always elated
Yeah.
when I hear stories like that because I'm an advocate of cannabis.
Yes, yes.
I've been advocating cannabis as a medicine.
Yes.
And
We had the media launch, and I was inspired by a young man out of Pettibodale. I'm going to tell you, his father was a traditional cultivator who went out in a boat to carry illegal cannabis to another country, and he lost his life. He was never found again.
And there are many stories like that.
His name was Bakito.
Bakito, Rampito.
Patel talks about him all the time. It's strange enough.
And there are others too.
There are others too.
But interesting, Darren, let me stop you. You know, since cannabis has been legalized medically in St. Vincent, the Grenadines,
Yes.
in fact, I don't know if I heard a story about anyone this way.
Has there been, Kamal, your journalist, has there been a story of any loss of life?
Right. And you know what?
Person going out into the sea and so forth. There hasn't been a single episode of a loss of life that way.
That has been reduced significantly.
Yes. Yeah.
And remember, with the relaxation of the laws, not just in St. Vincent, regionally, the demand for cannabis has reduced.
Well, let me ask something. I think that, for young people, the youths, there's a thinking among them that because cannabis has been legal for medicinal purposes, therefore they could use it too, And this has been something of a bit of a challenge. And there's some people who would cite this, that there are more youths smoking today than before. I'm not too sure about that, whether that's the case. I've always said youths are ones, they experiment with alcohol, they experiment with sex, you know what I mean? They experiment with violence, and from time to time, if a kid finds a gun, or as a young kid we want a gun, but we have made some effort to try and tell kids under a particular age, the age of 18 or the age of 60, especially a kid who's 11 years old, not to use cannabis and so. How do we continue that? Because this is part of the balance.
Well, we must continue that struggle.
Yeah.
And traditional cultivators must be responsible people.
Yeah.
You have your children, under the age of 18 or 17, somewhere above.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot encourage them into the use of cannabis.
Yeah.
Because impact cannabis has on the mind is different, depends on your age.
Mm-hmm.
So responsible traditional girls don't normally support that.
Yes.
That way of development.
Yes. Yes.
It's counterproductive.
Yes, and I think that getting back, still a lot of persons do not know the range of medical benefits from cannabis. I'm not going to get into that because that really can be a long story. I want to back to the concept of the traditional cultivator. And the traditional cultivator feeling that they are part of an industry. What would you say is the hope for the traditional cultivator who's been toiling in the wilderness for a long time?
He's looking forward to the industry to develop in a way that he will be able to take care of his family, send them to school, provide them with proper medicine, provide them with a good standard of living. Interestingly, The industry is relatively young.
Yeah.
It's relatively new. I'm very optimistic. I think the time will come when traditional cultivators will be able to benefit more from this development.
Well, let me stop you there, because do you think that if the United States does reschedule cannabis and cannabis becomes like water, like nothing, that we will see a full reversal?
Yes.
That you will see cannabis being sent down here in barrels and in containers, and people trying to send cannabis down to the grid. Do you think that St. Vincent can maintain a particular quality and standard to withstand that? Do you think that, it was interesting seeing at the port, they now have a new scanner that can scan containers, not just for guns and so forth, but, to find these kind of illicit things. Do you think St. Vincent, nevertheless, in terms of its quality, stands out in the region, and that it can basically withstand persons saying that, look, America is better, will always be better than you?
Gerald, it will be a challenge for us, but we can withstand it with our organization. I hear you often say that St. Vincent has a unique soil.
Yes.
I don't know how much percentage of %something of the wall only have that type of soil.
Yes. 0.75%.
0.7%.
Yes.
And that soil makes us exceptional.
Yeah.
Perhaps we got it because of the volcano.
Yeah.
So, coupled with that soil, coupled with the experience of our traditional cultivators, coupled with the science or scientific approach towards the growing of cannabis, I think St. Vincent and Grenadines can be one of the best producers of cannabis in the world.
And I was talking earlier about this gentleman, Bucky Toe's son from Peter Bedell,
Yes.
who was saying that he reflects when he was young, how they used to cultivate and so forth. And he said the things that they're doing now, the science that he's bringing to the process, is like night and day. And that the quality of the product
Have improved.
has significantly improved.
And you know who has been instrumental or very helpful in doing that? Some of the young people who have now come out of school.
Based
Because
on
of the academic development, the
education.
capacity to study,
Yes.
to research, and they have been producing some excellent stuff.
Well, interestingly, we are going to have at the conference, like last year, a number of persons from the community college, the science class, people from the technical college, the agricultural section. We're going to have people from the nursing school. We're going to have doctors there. We're going to have the pharmacists there. And, we've been particularly proud. Of course, at Cannabis, we're not encouraging 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds to be there. But I think that that particular young group that you're talking about is very much enlightened, and we can't really keep them out of wanting to be part of that process.
And Jerry, the next thing I must mention is that sometimes legalized medical cannabis and traditional growers ain't making the money. It's not that they ain't making the money. The licensed traditional cultivators is making some money, but not as much as we would like to make.
Yes.
And we have to understand the challenges out there.
Yeah.
To send you, if we can't just take up weed and send it to Germany just like that.
Yeah.
It has to go to a lab. It has to be tested.
Sorry to stop you there, but I think many people think and see cannabis like carrots
and rice and sugar.
or like dasheen and so forth, and you just wash it and put it in a sack or a box and set it up.
In fact, the honest truth is, if you have some cannabis to send to Germany in a legal way, you have to get a flight that is going either straight to Germany
Yeah.
or going to a third country who has legalized cannabis. You can't fly in a man in space with a plane and you have illegal weed in it.
Yeah,
These are some things. So it's not a straightforward thing.
Kamal, the stringency, any cannabis that is actually being exported, we've exported. I at the MCA have to contact not only the company in that country, what is Germany, but I have to also contact something called the INCB and inform them that this particular transaction is about to take place. It's like a flight taking off to go to England, right? That flight can't take off and land in England. So it has to go to air traffic control and, you know, various tracking systems. And when it's about to land, they will have to know that it's going to land. Tell them which runway to land on and all that kind of thing. And so
it's not a straightforward thing.
yes.
It's not, as yours, it's not like carrot, it's not like rice, it's not like sugar.
Yeah. Yes.
And unfortunately, we are not to blame for that. So we have serious challenges
Yes.
in building a medical cannabis industry, but I'm optimistic, and our girls have to continue to struggle.
Yes.
One of the things we have to always look at is unity.
Yes. Listen, Phyllis, we haven't had any calls, but you know, there's been some calls. Apparently, there are people from Union Island requesting tickets to come to the festival and the show. We're going to make sure of that. You know, there are individuals who I can tell you there are people booking hotels, and I'm hoping that because of the increased capacity of our hotels now, you know, it was a time, Kamal, when cricket couldn't really be played here because people couldn't find hotel rooms. We now seeing this holiday and so forth, and these people are now getting calls and so forth. I understand. But I think this is going to be a great festival. All the components, the lecture series, the expo in all its dimensions, the focus on quality cannabis production here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the expansion to general agriculture. You know, there's going to be a mini breadfruit festival at this conference. The botanical gardens are coming down. Out at Enhams, where they produce our citrus, they're bringing out their citrus, you know, to display and sell. You know, Cardi is coming down with some of their products and so forth and things like that. And the Ministry of Health is bringing out its nurses and so forth to check your pressure and your sugar and all that kind of thing. So and then the ITEL folks, you know,
Me of the ITEL.
I gotta say this. Let me say this. The ITIL folks, we gotta make sure that we respect the Rastafari ITIL folk, because of course we can't keep out people like Demas and so forth, who's also gonna be there. I gotta say that, but we gotta make sure that the aromas and so forth of these things don't clash. You know, so it's a whole big. But I tell you, I am impressed. The support we're getting from Rodney Smalls, right? From the lottery, from CDC in general, from Peter Edwards of Le View Hotel. Is there? We going past the time, eh? Well, listen, we out of time.
Yes.
Come on, let's say we out of time, but come on, I mean, I can't get another 15 minutes. Come, no, I can't. I can't get a 15 minutes.
Allow me just to conclude by saying,
yeah.
Allow me to conclude by saying, appealing to traditional cultivators to come out in your numbers and enjoy the festival.
Thank
It's
you.
the only one in the Caribbean. Come and see it.
Thank you very much. All the best. Good night.
People's Pharmacy, for all your pharmaceutical, skin and body care needs. Located on Grenville Street in Kingstown. They open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Call them today at 784-456-1.